The Las Vegas Raiders have hired former USC and former Seattle Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll to be their next head coach. He inked a 3-year deal, and the Raiders got a good one. This guy has a lot of experience. He's been coaching the NFL for a very long time. He's 73 years old, so he's the oldest coach in NFL history. But with age comes wisdom, and I think he's going to finally get the Raiders moving in the right direction. As much as that pains me to say as a Chargers fan, I feel like the Raiders finally got it right with this hire. I would give this hire an A if I had to grade it. A lot of teams have made their decision on who they want to be their head coach going into next year. The Patriots hired Mike Vrabel. The Bears hired Ben Johnson. The Jets hired Aaron Glenn. The Jaguars hired Liam Cohen. The only team to not hire a head coach after firing theirs are the New Orleans Saints, because as I'm recording this, the Cowboys have hired Brian Schottenheimer. Now, Pete Carroll steps into a loaded division. The AFC West is the most competitive division in the NFL, have the best head coaches in the NFL. You got Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, and Sean Payton. Now Pete Carroll as well. Those are some Hall of Fame-esque head coaches, and they're all going to be competing for wins. So I think Pete Carroll knew that coming in, and he wanted to challenge himself, and he wanted to prove that he's still one of the best head coaches out there, and the Raiders got it done. Pete Carroll's a great coach. He's been coaching for a very long time, has a lot of experience, and he has gotten the most out of his football teams. The last 2 years in Seattle weren't so hot for Pete Carroll, but look what he was working with. The Legion of Boom was pretty much done at that point. He didn't really have a quarterback besides Geno Smith. I know he's playing better now, but when Pete Carroll was there, Geno Smith was a joke, and that pretty much got Pete Carroll ran out of town. They wanted to go younger, I feel like Seattle did, and they ended up hiring Mike McDonald, a young defensive mind out of Baltimore, and I don't blame them for doing so. And Pete Carroll, been out of coaching for a while, decided to take the opportunity that was in front of him. The Raiders don't have much on their roster. They don't have much to build on, but they do have a few blocks like Max Crosby, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, and Christian Wilkins was a pretty good defender. I wouldn't say great, but those are the pieces they have to build on. And I think Pete Carroll's going to get the most out of them. I think he's going to draft well. I think he's going to do well in free agency. And I think he's going to get this team moving into an upward trajectory for sure. Seattle letting go of Pete Carroll was a surprise. But like I said, they wanted to go younger. They wanted a fresh start. And that's exactly what they ended up getting. This was a great hire. He turned the Seahawks around for sure when he first got there, and it gives the Raiders a stable head coach. They've been mediocre for a very long time, and I'm sure they're ready to get out of mediocrity. And with a coach like Pete Carroll, he's not going to sit by and let them continue to fail and fail and fail. He's going to build something over there. I don't know if he's going to be successful. I don't know if he's going to take the Raiders to a Super Bowl. But he's going to build a culture, a foundation, and he's going to have these guys playing a lot harder than they were for Antonio Pierce. I still think firing Antonio Pierce after 1 year was very unfair, if you ask me. He didn't really get a chance to flourish or get the pieces he wanted on the team. He was kind of dealing with Josh McDaniels' leftovers, because him and Mike Mayock came in and pretty much ruined the Oakland Raiders. They didn't draft well. They brought in Jimmy Garoppolo. He's ass. They just didn't do a good job of producing or carrying this team to the next level. They did a horrific job, and it seems like Antonio Pierce was the scapegoat for their failure this year, and I don't think that was right. But bringing in a guy like Pete Carroll was definitely a better choice than keeping Antonio Pierce, if you ask me. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He helped build the Legion of Boom, if people don't remember that. Had Richard Sherman. He had Cam Chancellor. He had Earl Thomas. He had a lot of studs on that defense. Bobby Wagner. He helped build that defense. And that was straight out of college after he was done coaching at USC. So I got to give credit where it's due. Pete Carroll has done a hell of a job at coaching football. And I think the Raiders seen that, and they wanted someone with experience this go around instead of a rookie head coach. The Raiders have the second most cap space in the NFL, so they will be bringing in some new pieces. This team will look a lot different next year, and I think they might end up drafting a quarterback, even though this quarterback class is weak. This draft is pretty weak, if I'm being completely honest. But they're going to need a new quarterback because Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew are not going to get it done. I think Pete Carroll knows that. I think he's aware of that. And I think he's going to do everything in his power to get a new quarterback in there, a new system, and have these guys playing great ball. Unfortunately, he's in one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. You got Patrick Mahomes at the helm for Kansas City. You got Justin Herbert at the helm for the Los Angeles Chargers. And then you got Bo Nix, a young and up-and-coming quarterback at the helm for the Denver Broncos. And all of their coaches have seemed to be getting a lot out of their quarterbacks. All of those coaches I just named are doing a great job with those franchises. So it's going to be hard for Pete Carroll to come in and just have immediate success. But at the end of the day, I think he will be successful. I don't know if he's going to bring a Super Bowl there. I probably doubt it. But I think he's going to be able to get this team to compete in a couple years or a few years. Because this team has been mediocre for a long, long, long time. And he's going to come in and he's not going to stand for that. Like I said, he's going to push these boys and he's going to get the most out of them. The Raiders are not that far off. They do have talent on this roster, like I said, but they need a quarterback. And this draft class just isn't it, if I'm being 100% honest. Cam Ward is cool. Shador Sanders is cool. But they're not they're not a Caleb Williams or a Jaden Daniels, to put it that way. The Raiders are picking 6 in the draft this up and coming year. But there's a lot of teams that need a quarterback in front of the Raiders. And I'm sure they will draft the quarterbacks that the Raiders had on their radar or will have on their radar come draft time. And the Raiders are too far back in the draft to go get whatever quarterback they want. So they might have to get a bridge quarterback this year just to hold them over until maybe next year or the year after that, where they could draft who they want or bring in somebody else that they really want to get this team to produce, to get this team's offense rolling. Because Aiden O'Connell, he's a good quarterback, but he's a backup. Let's just keep it 100. Gardner Minshew, he will be cut before this year. He will be cut because they're going to need to save that $10 million in cap space. And they're not going to keep him. He's not the answer there. Everyone knows it. So he will be cut. And the Raiders are going to have to figure out who they want to bring in. There's some free agent quarterbacks available. They could bring in a guy like Sam Darnold. I'm sure he will be available when the time comes. I don't think Minnesota is going to retain him. Or they could bring in a guy like Geno Smith. He's played for Pete Carroll before. He even posted cryptic messages on his Instagram in regards to maybe joining Pete Carroll again and being reunited with him. I could see that happening for sure. Or I could see them bringing in a guy like Russell Wilson, a guy that's familiar with Pete Carroll as well. A guy that should have won 2 Super Bowls with Pete Carroll, but ended up throwing an interception on the goal line, so he only got 1. But that's still better than none, right? I think the Raiders made the right choice with this hire. Pete Carroll, like I said, has plenty of experience. He knows what he's doing on the football field. He knows what he's doing coaching-wise with the X's and O's. And I think he's going to come into Las Vegas. He's going to change the culture, the atmosphere. He's going to have them boys playing way harder than they did the past 10 to 20 years. They've been mediocre for a long, long time. And I think the Las Vegas front office was tired of that. They wanted to hire a coach that they know could bring in a certain culture They wanted to hire a coach that had a lot of experience, and not only just experience, but success in this league. And that's exactly what Pete Carroll is, man. He's a Super Bowl winning head coach. He's a national champion. He's done a lot in the sport of football, and he's done a lot on the NFL level. He should be a two-time Super Bowl coach, but hey, you guys know what happened with that. So the Las Vegas Raiders, their trajectory is definitely looking up. Tom Brady, as a minority owner, has made a big influence on this team. You can tell they didn't just go hire any random coach. They went and got the best coach in the cycle to me. I think he was the best hire out of all the hires that every team has made. I like Mike Vrabel as well, but I think Pete Carroll, that's the one right there. You could stamp that. I think they're going to be competing for the AFC West in a few years for sure. Hopefully not beating my Chargers, but I think they're going to be a good team. This is a good hire by them. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think the same as me, that this was a good hire? Do you guys think the Raiders will be in contention soon? Or do you think this was a bad hire? Let me know, man. It's your boy Trey Mace with Famous Mason Sports, and we out, man. Peace.